Project Cars 3 has just been announced, and in today's video I'm going to take a look at some of the early information we have to decide whether we should be excited or apprehensive about this upcoming new sim racing title. Should be a fun video. Let's get started. What's going on, guys? My name's Martinio and welcome back to the channel, where today we are going to be talking about the big news if you're a fan of racing games, and that is that Project Cars 3 is very close to release. It's very much on the horizon. We have just had, literally 2 hours ago at the point of recording this, we have just had a trailer video drop on the sort of the PlayStation YouTube channel. I'll leave a link in the description to that video. I'm not going to show it here. I might show some screenshots, but I'm not going to show the video here because I don't want to get copyright strikes and so on and so forth. But yeah, so we're going to be talking about sort of what we saw in the trailer, some of the information we have online with regards to possible new features and so on and so forth. And yeah, we're going to see if we should be apprehensive about this new game if you're a fan of the series, or whether you should be excited that we've got a new Project Cars game coming. So let's get into it. Okay, so the majority of the information we're going to be looking at comes from an article on the Games Radar website. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to go check it out for yourself and read it at your own discretion. But I've had a read through it, and there are some goodish bits, and there's some bits that I'm not really overly enthused about. But we're going to jump into it. I'm going to split it into sections just so we can sort of break it down a little bit. So we'll start off with sort of the opening title for this particular article. Project Cars 3 is trying to be the racing sim that will appeal to everyone, which is concerning for me, in all honesty, because I don't think you can appeal to everybody. I think you've got to draw a line somewhere, and you've got to pick what you're going to be. You're either going to be a sim racing game, you're going to be an arcade game. If you try and sit in the middle, and this is just my opinion, the sim racing guys are going to say it's not hard enough, the arcade guys are going to say it's still too hard, but it's not fully catering to them. And like I said, on the sim side, it's not fully catering to them. It's just going to be in the middle, and in my opinion, people want one or the other. If you want to play arcade games, great, go and play arcade games. If you want to play sim games, great, go play sim games. But there's very few games, in my opinion, that sit sort of in that middle ground. So yeah, that's a little bit concerning, I'm going to be honest with you. We move on to the next part though. So basically, the opening salvo is what it's basically saying is that sim racing games are not seen as being very approachable. There's lots of jargon, there's lots of technicalities, there's steep learning curves involved, and so on and so forth. It can be very daunting, but Project Cars 3 is trying to strip down the wall between sim and arcade racer, and hopefully bring in new players along the way too, which again is concerning, because I don't think you can be both things to both sets of people, or all things to all people. You're going to annoy all people if you do that, in my opinion. And this quote comes from Pete Morris. He's the production director at Project Cars 3, or on Project Cars 3 should I say. We had a concern that simulators and racing sims were kind of seen as fairly po-faced, fairly technical, fairly dry, not welcoming, a little bit elitist. And I would counter that yes, and they should be, because they're mirroring real-world motorsport. And real-world motorsport is not going to cater towards you. There is a very steep learning curve. There's a lot of technical jargon, and it's very difficult, and it's not going to be easy, and it's going to be a grind. And that's sort of the idea behind a sim racing game, or a simulation of real world, of what you would get in the real world, which means there are going to be steep learning curves. There are going to be stuff you need to learn, such as how to set the cars up for particular tracks or particular scenarios. Sim racing should not be dumbing itself down to cater for guys who just want to play arcade games, in my opinion. So the next part says, while we've got what we're renowned for, which I would hope so, which is the amazing sandbox and loads of different cars and tracks and weather conditions you can combine in whatever way you want to, we popped on top of that a whole metagame, a whole career system that really supports newcomers to the franchise and those that are maybe further down the continuum towards more casual, the more pick up and play people than usual sim crowd, which again, it kind of annoys me. It does, because I've been in online lobbies and I can tell instantly who the person is who's playing on a controller. You can see it in the way the car moves, very jerky movements, and every time they get out of a corner and they're trying to straighten it up, they'll do that little left right thing, and you can tell. And it isn't because they've maybe gone on the loud pedal a bit too early and they've kicked the rear out. They just can't get the car straight because the very jerky movements of a controller rather than a steering wheel. And I don't think sim racing games should cater to people with controllers. That's what Need for Speed's for. There are loads of different racing games out there that cater to arcade players. Don't dumb down a sim racing game to cater to them, because you're going to because the arcade guys are still not going to be happy. It's going to be still too hard for them, and then the sim racing guys are not going to be happy because it's not what they expected. It's not as hard and it's not as challenging as what they wanted. So yeah, I'm very concerned with this because I love the Project Cars franchise. I love the first two games, and they were very, very popular and big for me in helping me sort of get my channel out there. I'm still not a huge YouTuber. I've had some pretty decently, viewed videos, but it came from Project Cars, so I'd hate to see them go in that arcade route. It really would annoy me. We move on to the next part though. So at the core of the ethos is a completely rebuilt career mode, restructured to encourage players to play how they want from the very start, which from the first or the second Project Cars game, the career mode there, I thought that career mode was very, very good. You started in karting and then you could progress through touring cars or GTs or single seaters or sports cars or whatever. There was something for you, and you didn't have to just pick one particular discipline. You could do a little bit of everything, and you had special events in between, taking in historic cars and so on and so forth. I thought it was very good. But this is sort of the new career mode is aimed at being a curated tour of the best cars and tracks the game has to offer. A new career mode also takes you through all 10 upgradable car classes and gives you achievable objectives with scaled rewards throughout. If you're a newcomer to the racing sim genre, it's all geared towards helping you learn, moving you towards a place where you rely on Fury Assist. Those who are more experienced are catered for too though, as you'd hope, with in-game credits used to help you bypass events that don't suit your playstyle, and the constant accrual of non-specific XP that will help you overall progress as well. So yeah, I don't quite know what that means, but it sounds like if you just don't feel like doing something, you can just trade in some XP and you could bypass it, which again in my opinion doesn't help you. If it's, oh, I don't like driving those older cars, they're too hard. Go and learn them. You will learn a lot from them, and you will become a better driver because of it. Again, just my opinion. And also, the upgradable car classes. We saw it in the trailer. If you haven't seen it, there's a link in the description. But again, I'm not happy about that at all. I'm not. I don't like road cars being in racing games. I never touched the road cars in the first two Project Cars games. I don't dream of driving road cars. I can drive a road car whenever I want. A racing car, I can't drive one of them whenever I want. That's what I want to drive in these games. It's being able to drive these things I can't drive in real life. And we saw the upgrade things. So you had a Mercedes AMG in the trailer, and you could add liveries to it, and you could upgrade the wheels and so on and so forth. Or you could just basically make it into sort of a GT4 car, possibly, or the stuff you see in like the Michelin Cup cars. It'd be a lot like that. The Michelin Cup cars, if you don't know what IMSA is, sort of a very, very entry version of GT3. So it's kind of like GT4 almost. I don't think it's as in depth as GT4, but you get what I mean. And then you can move it up to GT4 and GT3 and keep that progression going in terms of upgrading your cars. But I don't think you should be doing that. I think you should just have a GT4 car and a GT3 car, and learn to drive each of them and work your progression career mode. Don't have a car that you have to upgrade. I don't like that. It's very arcadey to me. I don't mind liveries. Being able to put your own liveries on things and paint things, that's fine. That's great. I really do like that inclusion. But having a car or buying a car and having to stay with that car and work through it on the career mode, I'm not really liking the sound of that. But we'll move on to the next part. And this is just sort of a continuation of the old career mode thing. So we do all the things like rewarding players for the path they want to take throughout career mode, rather than holding things back because they haven't tried a bit of everything. This is from Joe Barron, the marketing and esports manager on Project Cars 3. If you want to pick a particular discipline and stick to it, the better you get on it, you're going to get similar rewards to people who do sort of a little bit of everything, basically. That's what it's sort of trying to get at. It's making sure they reward people for playing the way they want rather than punish them for not experimenting. But again, from Project Cars 2 career mode, I don't think you were punished. I think you could do whatever you want. If you wanted to do just single seaters in career mode, you could do that. If you wanted to do single seaters and touring cars, you could do that. If you wanted to do a little bit of everything, I think you could do that. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I don't think there was any sort of punishment for not taking part in certain sort of disciplines in career mode. So again, I thought career mode in Project Cars 2 was pretty good. I thought they could add to it. From the looks of this, they have torn it apart and built something completely new, and something new that I'm not particularly enthused about. But again, it's early doors. I don't want it to sound like I'm being a complete naysayer on Project Cars, because I am excited about it and I do want to see what it's like. But right now, the information we're getting is making me very, very apprehensive about what it could be, and that is disappointing because I love the first 2 Project Cars games. Move on to this next part, and again, it's not just career mode that's had a revamp. Basically, they're getting rid of the community events, which, while they were very, very popular, the gist of this whole spiel you've got here is that they thought they were very, very basic, and you just had the events and then you had one big leaderboard. And again, this is what annoys me. That in some ways could be a little bit discouraging, because obviously the first time you go into that mode in the previous 2 games, see those leaderboards, you see in the top chunk of it. For people, they might see that and think, I've got no chance here, and walk away and do something else. That's fine. If you're looking at that, if you're looking at the top guys and thinking, oh, it's too hard, then yeah, you should walk away and go do something else, because you haven't got the right mentality. I look at the top guys, it's like with Hellclimb Monsters. I went in there not confident that I could go and get the top times, and turns out with a bit of work and a lot of getting through that learning curve, I could actually go and match them in some classes. I could go up there, and it was that thrill of the chase, the thrill of getting better, the challenge of getting better, the hard work that it entails getting better. I love that. If you look at those leaderboards and you think it's too hard, then sim racing isn't for you. It isn't, because you've always got to be learning, you've always got to be progressing, in my opinion. That's just me. Maybe I'm being a bit harsh, but that's just me. If you're looking at things and you think they're too hard, then walk away, go do something that's easy. Or be a man and sack up and practice and practice and practice until you get better. Simple. Don't dumb things down for people, because it makes people lazy. There we go. That's just me. So the new mode, or the new community event mode, is called Rivals mode, and it's sort of, you get weekly, daily and monthly challenges, all of which earn you XP and something called Rivals coins. Now, this is another disappointing thing. The leaderboards have divisions within them, encouraging you to aim for the top of a much smaller division, so you've got to try and be the big fish in the small pond. And at the end of each month, there's relegation and promotion from these leaderboards. So it's trying to be FIFA clubs, apparently, or FIFA Ultimate Team, or whatever it is. I don't play FIFA, so I don't know. But again, that's disappointing. Again, it's just, if you look at something and you think it's too hard and you're not wanting to work to get better at it, then fine, walk away. Don't dumb it down for everybody. Just get rid of them. So that, again, is a little bit annoying, and because I really like the career, I like the community events. I really did. I participated in quite a few of them, and I looked at the top guys, and I didn't look at them thinking, oh, I'm never going to do that. I looked at them thinking, you know what, let's see how close I can get to them. Let's go and do this for the afternoon and see what I can do, and I'll work on this, that and the other, and I'll try and get better, and I'll learn more about myself as a driver, and I'll get better as a driver just by trying to chase down these top guys. And maybe I won't do it, and that's fine, but I'm going to try. I'm not just going to walk away from it because I think it's too hard without even having a go at it. So yeah, maybe I'm old school in that regard, but Project Cars 3, basically, this last bit of quote, it wants to encourage you to get better at your game. Rival mode features dynamic ghosts. I don't like ghosts. Some people do. I'm not going to bust the game's balls for this. I'm not a fan of ghosts. I don't like chasing a car-shaped fart around a racetrack. I just don't like doing it. It's just distracting for me. And also, Project Cars wants you to get good, wants you to enjoy racing, discover what we love about it, which for me, I love the challenge of it. So don't dumb the challenge down for these newbies. Let them learn the hard way. They'll get better. They'll be better drivers for it. And if they quit, then they quit. Then they weren't made for sim racing to begin with. So yeah, so this next part is to do with skill-based matchmaking and the new stuff. So it's basically a refined version of the racing license system we had in Project Cars 2, which I thought was very good. It needed some work, and hopefully they've refined it. They haven't just completely done away with it and stripped it down, but they've refined it, which I'm quite enthused about. That's pretty good, because I like the idea of the rating system, and you know, being rewarded for maybe being a C-class driver and beating some A-class guys, or you know, maybe losing a little bit more. It's kind of like the strength of field sort of thing that you get in iRacing. So I like that, and they refined it. And if it's a little bit more like iRacing, that's very, very good. I think that'll be a good addition to the game. It will just not be the quality and racing and fairness of it that is better, but also because you'll be racing a similar skill, so hopefully you can, the more you do that, the more you'll learn from each other and the quicker you progress, which I'm fine with. I'm fine with that. Finding a skill level for you is good. It's just I don't want people dumbing things down and making it so easy that it's pointless and there's no challenge to it. Now, this next part, there are some things that haven't changed with Project Cars, and that includes the quality of the graphics. Now, Project Cars was revered as being one of the better looking games out there, in my opinion, in terms of sim racing. And they've added a few little bits and bobs, so you've got car customization options. Now, to a degree, I'm all for this. Adding liveries in your own personal liveries or created liveries is great, and I'm all for that. But I don't want to have a car that I can slap a spoiler on and a big wing and make it look like some vomit monster neon nightmare, you know, Need for Speed car. I don't want to do that. That's what Need for Speed's for. It's not what Project Cars is for, or should be for. So, but you've got car customization. You can add deliveries, which is good, I'll admit that. And you can also race, and people will be able to see that and everything like that. So it's a lot like the livery system I imagine from Gran Turismo Sport, which is very, very popular. Hopefully it's a little bit easier than Gran Turismo, because I found it very, very difficult. It's a very specific sort of file type, and it's I found it very, very difficult. I never actually nailed it. I never got a livery on Gran Turismo because of the way they did it. Hopefully there's an easier way of doing it, and you can upload it to a website, and that will import it into whatever part of the game you want via the servers for PlayStation or Xbox or whatever. So that's what I'm hoping for. And this last part, there's been a big focus on improving the realism and intensity of the race, particularly trying to mirror the sensation you feel when playing the game in VR. Now, this is good. If you're playing on screens, basically they're going to try, through new post-processing and motion blur and camera shakes and collisions, to put you more sort of, not make it feel like, it says it down here, not make it feel as if you're racing the car, not just make it look like you're racing the car, if that makes sense. So it's about improving the visuals and the driving, you know, what you feel in the driving experience in terms of sort of motion blur and stuff like that. So that's good. I like that. And because racing games look good these days, and all of them look good, you don't position yourself differently by making it look even more like real life. You need to identify different ways of doing it, and that's where they're at. So they're adding these new post-processing and motion blur effects and camera shakes to give you a more immersive experience, regardless of whether you're in VR or on triple screens or ultra wide or just a single flat panel monitor or whatever. So that's really good. So yeah, that's pretty much the majority of that. But it finishes off by saying everything I've seen so far, Project Cars is an interesting blend of old and new, determined to get more people racing and learning than ever before. It's an interesting tack for a serious racing sim to take, and that's, I think, being quite generous, but one that's clearly thought through from career mode to new multiplayer. I can't wait to see how it handles. And I can't wait to see how it handles. It's going to be hitting PS4, Xbox One and PC later this year, and I can't wait to get my hands on it. But at the moment, I'm more apprehensive. I'm more worried that the currency that Slightly Mad Studios have accrued from the first two games and how good they were, I'm worried that they're going to throw all that away in favour of making it more accessible and dumbing it down for arcade players. And there's nothing wrong with playing arcade racing games. There isn't. I'm not going to bust your balls for that. If you want to do that, fine. But my concern is, like I said, if you try and sit somewhere in the middle and cater to both, you're going to annoy both sides of the coin. The arcade guys are still going to say it's too hard, and the sim guys are going to say it's not hard enough and they're not challenging enough, and they're going to put it down, and they're going to go and get an Assetto Corsa Competizione, or they're going to go and get iRacing or R Factor or Ultimo Blister 2. And on the, you know, maybe that's why this is potentially being like this. Maybe because there is a little bit of a time between Slightly Mad Studios and Riser, the guys who make Ultimo Blister 2. Ultimo Blister is very, very much a sim racing game. So maybe that's sort of where they would go. Well, we've got something that looks like our IP with Ultimo Blister 2, which is full on sim. Maybe we can be a little bit more arcadey now with our side of it. That could be potentially what it is. I hope it isn't, but yeah. And we know there's going to be new racetracks in there as well. We've already seen Interlagos in the trailers in there, and yeah, no word on whether we're going to get any new cars or whatever. I would hope we have as many, or sorry, more cars than we had in the previous games, and we have the same sort of thing. So, you know, early single seaters, early GTs, Group C, Group B, Group A, and everything else in between. I would hope we have that. Hopefully more single seaters, not just the Lotus, but McLarens and Williams and six-wheel Tyrrells and Brabham fan cars and everything else. I would hope we get that, but I'm not going to write it off just yet. I'm going to play it first, and I want to see what it's like and see what more information comes out, and I'll post more videos as more information becomes available. But right now, I am a little bit apprehensive about this, about what this could be and what it could mean. But moreover, I'm keen to hear what you guys think about this. You've watched the trailer, you've probably read the article. What do you think? Do you think they're going the wrong way? Do you think it's going to be sort of a arcade-catered sim sort of monster that doesn't really cater to either crowd? Or do you think I'm just maybe jumping the gun a little bit in my apprehension? Do you think that maybe it's going to be much better than Project Cars 2, and they've just maybe not explained it in a way that's sort of pointing towards what it will actually be, if that makes sense? Keen to hear your comments. Drop a comment down below. Also, if you want to see more videos from me, I know it's been a little bit slow because I haven't got a steering wheel or anything like that, and I am sorting that, and within the next 2 months, I'm hoping by the start of August, I will be back, daily regular content, and hopefully we'll be getting into streaming as well. So if you want to see that, and you want to be prime position to see that, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well, because I'll be possibly posting more Project Cars 2 news videos as well. So this is the place to go if you want to see more news about Project Cars as and when it becomes available. But yeah, again guys, leave a comment down below, let me know what you think, and thank you so much for watching. Drop a like, drop a subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Peace.